Do you think Trump believes in God?
Well, Trump definitely believes in the supernatural. There's no question about that. I know that. Does he believe in the Christian God? No. But he certainly is not a secular person at all. Well, he definitely believes. He believes. Everyone believes, by the way. Everybody, whether they know it or not. But Trump consciously believes. And as to the Bible question, I spent over a year not saying anything about that. But I was sitting right there. I mean, I was right in front of him at the inauguration, which was very small. It was indoors, sitting next to some relatives of his. Anyway, and I saw it. And Melania was there with the Bible. And no one said anything about it. But I just noticed it. I was like, and she was sitting right there. And he intentionally didn't. And by the way, it's an inaugural swearing in. Like, everyone knows the rules. Like, the protocol is, put your hand on the Bible. He did it the first time. And I was really bothered by it. And he didn't put his hand on the Bible. So the only point I made was, if you didn't care, if you didn't think it was real, like, why would you not put your hand on the Bible? It's just a book. It doesn't have any power. It doesn't mean anything. It's like some superstition that desert people believed in 2,000 years ago. It's like, it's immaterial. Just put your hand on the Bible. Who cares? But he didn't. And I was, I saw him that night. I've seen him countless times since then. I've never said anything about it to him. And I tried not to think about it again. Like, there is a process by which you ignore things that you don't like or that don't make sense or you don't want to think them. And we all do this, or I certainly do it. And, but then it came back to me on Easter morning. I was at my cousin's house in Texas, hunting hogs and having a great time. And I woke up really early because it was Easter morning. We were going to go to services, and I just checked my phone and I saw that. I think I've ever been that offended. Not because I'm a particularly pious man. I'm certainly not a pious man. However, it is Easter. I mean, it's like our main holiday of the world's biggest religion. And you're comparing yourself to Jesus or swearing or what? Calling for the murder of innocents on Easter morning? Take a break, dude. Out of respect for the world's biggest religion, right? And the majority religion in your own country. It was an intentional provocation.
Raised some eyebrows this week when you said that Hamas is more like a political organization than a terror group.
I didn't say that.
Hamas is a group of jihadis. They're Islamic extremists, which they also claim constantly, which I don't know if that's true, by the way. It seems more like a political organization.
I didn't say that.
You've been talking on your show about whether Trump is the Antichrist.
I have not said that.
On your show, you said, could this be the Antichrist?
I actually did not say, could this be the Antichrist?
Could this be the Antichrist?
I don't know where that comes from, but I know that those words never left my lips.
You were on a podcast yesterday and you said you think Israel killed Charlie Kirk.
I did not say that. I did not say that. I've never said that.
Charlie Kirk was murdered. I believe he was most likely murdered for his evolving views on Israel.
I've never said that.
You said in our previous interview,
the future that I imagine
is not a future in which we're yelling at each other about race. It's a future in which people are legitimately revolutionary, maybe even violent.
I'm amazed that you have a tape of me saying that, and I just want to disavow it.
Tucker Carlson just went to war with Donald Trump, and Trump hit back so hard, Tucker may never recover. So what's up, family? Real talk. I got the receipts, and I'm about to break this all the way down. And I need you to sit with me for this one, because this ain't one bad clip. This ain't one slip of the tongue on a podcast somewhere. This is a pattern, family. Lies stacked on insults, stacked on disrespect, stacked on more lies. You got a man with millions and millions of followers going after the president behind closed doors, and then sitting in a chair denying it to his face and getting caught on camera every single time. So let's start right where it gets ugly. Somebody sits across from Tucker and asks him, does Trump believe in God? And Tucker says no. Then they clarify, does he believe in the Christian God specifically? And Tucker says no again. Now pause right there for a second, because that phrasing matters. That's not a real theology question, family. Nobody sitting there actually cares about the state of Donald Trump's soul in that moment. That question is a setup, plain and simple. Think about it like this. If somebody asks you, does your neighbor believe in the Christian God, specifically in front of a room full of people, that's not curiosity. That's a loaded question dressed up like a casual one. And here's what gets me. Trump has been public about his faith for years. He's talked about it. He's shown up to church services. He's surrounded himself with faith leaders his whole time in office. You can agree with how he expresses it or not. That's fair. But the actual public record is right there for anybody to look at. Now, to be fair, family, people are allowed to question anybody's faith. That includes politicians. That includes preachers. That includes me and you. Faith is something we should be able to talk about honestly, no problem there. But here's where it doesn't add up. The timing of it, the framing of it, calling out the Christian God, quote unquote, specifically in that tone, that's not honest curiosity. That's planting a seed. That's dropping a little doubt into the room and letting it sit there without ever having to prove anything. And this is where it starts to matter, family, because when you whisper doubt about a man's soul on a platform with millions of viewers and you don't back it up with one single fact, you are not doing journalism. You are doing insinuation. You are doing the thing where you never have to say the accusation directly. You just make people wonder. And wondering is enough for some folks to walk away with a seed planted that was never rooted in anything real to begin with. That's not a gotcha, family. That's a tactic. And we're about to see the same tactic play out over and over again in this next part.
By the way, like I did see something that you were on a podcast yesterday. You said you think Israel killed Charlie Kirk.
I did not say that.
What was?
I did not say that.
Okay, what was the clip then?
I said, I've never said that.
Okay.
I know a lot of people, including in the Trump administration, who think that. However, there's no proof of that.
Yeah.
What I said was two things. One, I don't know when the command came down and from whom that we have to trust everything federal law enforcement says, but I'm not obeying that. We have a moral obligation to push federal law enforcement to do the job we pay them to do, which is to investigate the crimes fully. And so, for example, if there are people who predicted Charlie's death on Twitter, I think the rest of us can expect that they've been hauled in by the FBI for questioning, and I don't think they have been. So,
I don't know about that, but
Okay.
I do know what what you're talking about, the Discord chats.
No, I'm specifically
and
talking
TikTok.
I'm talking about the Twitter posts that seem to predict Charlie's death. Maybe that
I don't know if that's been investigated. I would love for that to be.
So that's number one. Number two, just because someone is shot by one person doesn't mean others weren't involved. And don't berate me into accepting that assumption, because I would never accept that. Why would I assume that? And three, to tell me that you know the motive before the trial even starts, that he was killed for his views on transgenderism, maybe he was. Maybe it was more complicated than that. How would you know? You don't know. So stop yelling at me to accept a conclusion that you can't prove.
I hear you.
Why would you do that? This is my friend. I'm not, and by the way, if I was murdered, I would expect people who loved me not to jump to unwarranted conclusions, but to press federal law enforcement to do its freaking job.
Yeah.
And stop calling people names because they're asking you to do your job.
I think a lot of people did jump to unwarranted conclusions.
Maybe.
Though.
I don't know if they're warranted or not.
And, right after the assassination, many people were with big platforms, not you, were saying that Israel was behind it.
Many people with big platforms were saying that he was killed for his views on transgenderism. And we don't know that, actually. We don't know anything.
But Charlie was killed as he was talking about transgender. And this guy, Tyler Robinson, seems to be in love with transgender people.
That may be absolutely true.
For me, and I think a lot of Americans, that seems like the most plausible situation.
Charlie Kirk was murdered.
Yeah.
And he was not murdered for his opinions on transgenderism, obviously. He was, I believe, and most people who knew him well, as I did, and was friends with him as I was, believe he was most likely murdered for his evolving views on Israel.
All right, family. So this is Alex Brucewitz. He is the media strategist for Donald Trump and currently still is the media strategist for Donald Trump. He has played a pivotal role in the election time when Trump was running to be reelected for his second term, who is our current president, where he basically helped the Trump administration reach out and be able to connect with the youth using social media to basically push his message campaign-wise and to basically grasp the attention of the youth through TikTok, Instagram, etc., etc. So he is currently still the media strategist, just to put that out there as a disclaimer. But here's where it gets worse, family, because the God question was just the appetizer. What happens next is Tucker gets confronted with his own words, word for word. He looks the man dead in his face and says he never said them. Not once, not twice, 3 separate times in the same sitting. That's why I played this video in its full context, even though you guys seen it in the second clip in the beginning of this video when he had already said he did not say that basically Israel played a pivotal role in the killing of Charlie Kirk. And God rest Charlie Kirk, and my heart goes to the family. Now, first one, Hamas. Somebody brings up that Tucker called Hamas more like a political organization, quote unquote, than a terror group. And Tucker says, I didn't say that. Didn't even hesitate, straight denial. And there it is, his own voice, his own words, calling Hamas a group of jihadists in one breath, and then walking it right back into seems more like a political organization, quote unquote, in the next breath, caught on tape in real time. Second one, as you guys heard, the Antichrist question. They bring up that Tucker went on his own show and asked out loud whether Trump could be the Antichrist. And again, straight face, I have not said that. I actually did not say, could this be the Antichrist? Come on now, family. And there's Tucker, right, on his own platform saying the exact phrase. Could this be the Antichrist, word for word, no editing, no out of context nonsense, just him saying a thing and then a few days later swearing up and down it never left his lips? The third one, as I just mentioned earlier on, about Charlie Kirk. And my heart going out to the family and God rest his soul. And this is the one that should bother you the most. Charlie Kirk's death in Israel. Somebody says you were on a podcast yesterday and you said you think Israel killed Charlie Kirk. And this is who's on the screen. The man who asked him the question, Alex Brucewicz, who is currently is Trump's media strategist, who basically deals with the media component and pushing out our president's message and his message when he was running to be reelected. So Tucker says, I did not say that. I never said that. And then the clip rolls, as you guys have seen in this clip. And there he is saying Charlie was most likely murdered for his evolving views on Israel. Now, think about what that sentence actually means, family. We're going to get into that in a minute. But right now, just sit with the pattern. Deny, deny, deny. Then get the tape pulled up and get proven wrong every single time. So let's put this in terms you deal with every day. Imagine you got a coworker who tells the whole break one thing about you, maybe something ugly, something that could cost you your job. Then your boss calls a meeting and that same coworker looks your boss dead in the eyes and says, I never said that. And you're standing right there with the text message on your phone. That's not a misunderstanding at that point. That's not a fuzzy memory. That's a man betting that nobody in the room has the receipts and getting caught with when somebody does. And that's exactly what this is, family. This isn't a gotcha moment for entertainment. This is a man, Tucker Carlson, with a platform bigger than most cable news networks, saying things into a microphone and then erasing them the second somebody asks him to own it. From my perspective, that's not a memory problem. A memory problem is forgetting somebody's birthday, right? I like to call this strategy selective dementia. And my heart goes to those who have true dementia. I believe that this actually is disrespectful to those who truly have dementia. I don't like that individuals play with memory and have selective unforgetfulness or forget things selectively because they're getting called out on it and held accountable, because I believe that you're wasting the gift for those who don't have memory in the name of dementia from an unfortunate situation. You have the memory to recall. You just don't want to be held accountable. So, however, like I said, this is a credibility problem. And I'm not saying selective dementia to be disrespectful to those who have dementia and endured that. I have loved ones and family members who have. And I know how rough it can be as caretakers and family members and your loved ones seeing them go through that. But it grinds my gears because it is disrespectful. And it's like, to me, I always would say, since you're acting like you're unforgetful because you don't want to be held accountable, if you actually do forget things, I won't know. So it's disrespectful in the name of dementia. So that's why I call this selective dementia, just to break that down, but no disrespect. But here's the thing about credibility, and it's the only real product a commentator has to sell you. Not looks, not charisma, credibility. And once that's gone, once people can't trust that what you said last week is what you'll stand on this week, everything else you say afterward gets a big question mark hanging over it. And we're about to see exactly how far that pattern goes, because the Israel angle is where it gets personal. And now let's slow down on the Charlie Kirk comment, family, because that one deserves its own attention. Tucker said Charlie was most likely murdered for his evolving views on Israel. No text message backing that up. No Discord chat. No note. No letter. Nothing from the young man accused of the murder pointing at Israel. No note. Right? I should say no letter. Nothing from the young man accused, Tyler Robinson, of the murder pointing at Israel one time. Just a theory dropped on a podcast with Charlie's name attached to it. And that's where it doesn't add up for a lot of people. We don't have to guess what Charlie Kirk believed, family. The man is on camera plenty of times saying it himself while he was alive and breathing. Charlie talked directly about who was threatening him and where the danger was coming from. He named the far left. So with that being said, I want you guys to see in regards of this next clip.
I think a lot of people are nefariously using Charlie's passing for self-gain. And I think that's wrong.
But also for ideological ends and foreign imperatives. Like, that's really clear to me. Like, how did this become about that? If it's really just about transgenderism, then why is every person insisting it's only about transgenderism also attacking the MOU? Like, what are we looking at now, Alex Brusewitz? Like, I don't know. I'm a medium IQ person, maybe even a low IQ person, but I'm just like noting what's happening and asking, what does it add up to? And I don't know.
Good question.
But it's weird.
I hear you. I hear you.
You should be a shrink, man. You have such a calming. I hear you.
The left, at the core of a liberal, is someone that would use the sword if they had it. They are very violent people at their core. They always have been. They can't debate. They can't have conversation. So they'll resort to these tactics. They're going to do everything they possibly can to try to murder this movement because they can't beat us. So they're going to try to take weapons. And no, we're very aware of that. I'm aware of it. We have to have full-time security. This is not a joke. This is who these people are.
So there you guys have it. He named the far left, Charlie Kirk, and he mentioned it in this clip. That's why I wanted to show you guys. He talked about violent rhetoric aimed at him and people like him from that direction specifically. Not from Israel, not from Jewish people, not once. He said it himself in his own words on his own platform. Same way Tucker got caught doing the opposite of what he claimed. And this is Charlie Kirk saying the danger was coming from the far left. Charlie Kirk said that. So think about the irony sitting right in front of us. The same people pushing this Israel angle after Charlie's death are stepping right over what Charlie actually said with his own mouth while he was still alive to say it. That's not honoring the man. That's replacing him, taking his death and dressing it up in a theory he never believed and probably would have pushed back on it himself if he was still here to do it. Now, let's talk about Netanyahu for a second. Because you guys heard Tucker Carlson said, oh, well, I believe that also they used Charlie Kirk's name for the political. Just like when Netanyahu spoke, he talked about Netanyahu. Because this part really shows you how the game gets played when he said that. Netanyahu gave his condolences after Charlie died, called him a patriot, and said he loved his country, United States, and said he was a great man. Simple words, the kind of words any world leader gives when somebody they respected passes. And somehow that gets called weird from Tucker Carlson. Think about that for a second, family. If the president of some other country said the exact same sentence word for word, nobody bats an eye, nobody calls it strange. But because it's Netanyahu, all of a sudden it's suspicious. That right there tells you the problem was never really about the words. The problem is who said them, and this is where the bigger conversation comes in, family. Somewhere in all of this, a widow with 2 small children became a prop, Erica Kirk. A young father, Charlie Kirk, murdered, becomes the centerpiece for a theory the man himself never believed while he was living and breathing and warning us directly about where the real threats were coming from. The far left, as he said, Charlie Kirk. That's not journalism. That's not honoring anybody's memory. That's using grief as a stage. And from my perspective, respect for the dead means you repeat what they actually said. You don't rewrite their words to fit a narrative that serves you better. And Charlie Kirk told us who scared him. He told us where the violence was coming from. And instead of sitting with that, some folks decided it was easier to build a story that points somewhere else entirely. Somewhere with no evidence attached to it at all. And that's the part that should bother you more than any denied clip we already covered. Because at least those were lies about words. This is a lie about a man's legacy. Now let's shift the camera for a second, family, because the words coming out of Tucker's mouth are only half this story. The other half is the man sitting across from him wearing a White House badge that I mentioned, Alex Brucewitz, right? As you see on the screen. Listening to all of this and doing next to nothing about it. A member of the Trump administration, he is currently the media strategist still and part of the Trump administration, sat in that chair while Tucker called the president compromised, weak, controlled, and the room stayed calm the whole time. Now, listen, I'm not saying be all uproarious and respond with rage and disrespect, but you can still be calm in a room, but also be assertive and make sure that the truth is being told. So with no further ado, I want you guys to actually hear this for yourself.
Why do you think Trump decided to end the war right now?
Because he's staring down the barrel of like commodities prices that are non-sustainable. Trump is super sophisticated about certain things, and obviously buffoonish in other ways, but he's not stupid and he's not senile. It's just not true. I would love to think he's senile, and that's why he did this. He's not senile. And he understands that, you can manipulate commodities markets and financial markets, and they certainly have for a while, but not forever. And I think a lot of Americans don't understand how globalized everything is. And so you hear people say, well, we're energy independent. We have the oil and gas necessary to run a society of 350 million people, which is true. We do. But that's not the way it works. These things are priced on an international market. But crude is not American oil. So it doesn't matter unless you were to basically shut down our borders to commerce, or certainly to energy commerce, and just say you're not allowed to sell American crude oil or natural gas outside our borders. Maybe you could pull that up, but no one's going to do that. So a disruption in oil that's bound for South Korea or China or Japan, Europe, that affects us. And Trump knew that. Obviously, he knows that. But I think there's a sense in which he kind of convinced himself that wasn't true, with all the posturing about, well, we've got our oil and we've got Venezuela's oil. Like, he just kept repeating it, including to me, so much that I think he just felt like it's going to be fine. We're going to decapitate their leadership structure and the country's going to collapse. And I never defend our intel agencies, our 18 intel agencies, basically CIA and NSA. But I will say in this case, they told him, no, Iran is not a dictatorship, despite what they tell you on Fox News. It's not a dictatorship. Decisions are not made by one guy. They're made by committee. And not only made by committee, they're embedded in the structure. So you could kill the entire top echelon of leadership in Iran and they just be replaced by the next guys who would make the same decisions. And that's literally what happened. Israel penetrated Iran very deeply in kind of an amazing way. And so they were able to locate and kill the whole leadership, not in the whole leadership, but scores of them were assassinated. And the country didn't collapse, and the government kept going. It was even a little bit more hard line. Now the opposite of the intended effect. So Trump saw that, and he's again not stupid, and he saw this. He's like, ooh, and he knew right away that this was a massive mistake, and that we were really exposed. We could get hurt doing this, and there was no obvious military solution. I mean, he knew that, and so he tried to posture his way out of it. We're going to eliminate you, and after the 400th Truth Social, they reached the same conclusion that everyone on the globe reached, which is this guy's not strong, he's weak. Strong people don't brag about how strong they are. They just punch you in the face and end the conversation. And my father, who was a boxer at one point, would always say there are two types of guys, and you got to be careful of the second. They're the first who are like, what'd you say? What'd you say? Say it again. Push you in the chest. You don't have to worry about those guys. And the other guys don't say anything, just knock you cold, hit you in the face with a beer bottle and keep hitting you. And those are the people you need to be afraid of. They're not the posturers. They're not the braggarts. They're in your, And I think everyone knows that intuitively. And Trump is very much, what'd you say? Shut up, bitch.
So, if you listen to the exact line, because this is the one that should stop you cold, Tucker looks at this man and says Trump is basically told, and I'm quoting it straight up, shut up. And that Tucker doesn't take him seriously. Think about what just got said out loud on a mic about a sitting president. And the response from the man representing the administration when it came to Alex Brucewitz talking to him in regards to not holding him accountable and being soft on basically not holding him accountable for him actually lying and playing a receipt and letting that speak for itself, even if he didn't want to give no pushback and he just kept saying, I hear you. You can still be calm, but assertive, but also not be a pushover, but also let people know the truth, most importantly. So A little laugh, yeah, I hear you, and then right back into the conversation like nothing heavy just landed in the room. Let's be real for a second. If somebody disrespected your father to his face, called them weak, called them controlled, and said people don't even take him seriously, and called them the B word, as you guys just heard, even though he's not talking to Alex Brueswicks in this last clip about saying shut up B word about Trump. But I'm just saying the sentiment of this and the energy in which Tucker Carlson is coming from towards our president, your family's going to ask you what's wrong with you. They're going to want to know why you didn't say a word and hold him accountable when it came to Alex Brueswicks, right? Being on the current Trump administration and being part of Trump's team. And you control the media component when it comes to Trump Post. So why you let it slide like it was nothing? And that's not keeping the peace, family. That's letting disrespect walk right through the front door and shaking his hand on the way out. Real accountability in that chair looks like pushing back in the moment. Not after the camera start rolling, not in a tweet the next day, right there in real time while millions of people are watching it happen live. And then also with the real accountability, you can actually, since you are the media strategist for Trump, can actually make sure that the truth get out from that opportunity you had to hold him accountable for the same way that Tucker Carlson is spewing lies and misleading individuals using the same media component that you are using as being a strategist for our current president. So real accountability, it sounds like, hold up. That's not what I witnessed, and that's not what the record shows. What we got instead was silence dressed up as composure, and silence in that seat sends its own message to every person watching. It tells them disrespecting the president is fine, as long as you say it's smooth enough and smile while you're doing it. So here's the real lesson in all of this, family. Track record beats one polished interview every single time. Watch what a man does across months, not what he managed to pull off in one sitting under bright lights. Proverbs chapter 12, verse 22 says it plain. Lying lips are an abomination to the Lord, but they that deal truly are his delight. This was never about one slip of the tongue. It's a pattern. Saying one thing and living another, and scripture calls that out directly. God's not bothered by man being wrong sometimes. He's not bothered by man being false on purpose. Over and over and getting comfortable in it. And for my non-spiritual family watching, you don't need a verse to spot a liar. Your word is your bond. Catch somebody lying to your face twice and everything after that gets muted. Character shows up in the pattern, not the performance. Drop your take in the comments, family. Spread the peace, love, and positivity. Let the love supersede the hate, family. On that note, family, peace.